Why is Harry Potter so popular even after all these years? Well, one of the main reasons why Harry Potter is so famous even after so many years is because everyone, literally everyone in this world, loves to have magic in their life. Simply because it makes their lives easier or maybe even more interesting. The story was written in a way that involved everyone to immerse themselves into the Harry Potter universe and imagine themselves as part of the story. The involvement in the story was amplified even more once Pottermore was created. Most of the fans are extremely involved with the universe, and that in combination with J.K. Rowling's constant additions to the franchise, where it is through her interviews or her overactive Twitter account. This intervenes with how the franchise and fandom surrounding it normally coexist. Usually, the fandom starts with few fans and the number grows as the franchise grows larger. But once the franchise comes to the closure, the fandom will slowly die due to the lack of content. Like, for example, the Star Wars franchise that got revived after years of stagnation once the sequel trilogy was announced. But there is the first thing people love about Harry Potter is obviously the universe in which the story takes place. There is something about being in this amazing reality in which magic is real, and you even go to a special school that makes you master your magical abilities that draws people to get involved with the story. Aside from the character, the universe is filled with many amazing magical creatures which make the plot even more interesting. Like, for example, the three-headed dog called Fluffy. An amazing universe would be nothing without interesting, well-written characters to fill it, and the Harry Potter series definitely does not lack in that department. As you explore the plot more and more, start rewatching and rereading the books and the series, you'll discover some hidden plot elements you may have overlooked the first time you read the books or watched the movies, such as the scene describing Fred and George throwing snowballs at Professor Quiller's head, because Professor Quiller was the one who had hidden Voldemort in his head for almost an entire year. So, throwing snowballs at Mr. Quiller's head literally meant that Fred and George were aiming directly at Voldemort's head or his face. Aside from the interesting plot, an important part of the series is the values the series teaches. And as such, it is an amazing choice for younger children to start their reading journey. As I started my reading journey through Enid Blyton, but Harry Potter was also an amazing, amazing read. No matter how many times we revisit the series, there's always something new you can explore, and with additional material, J.K. Rowling's released the years, the possibilities are endless, like the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which was completely released entirely after the movie sequel. But this did not, despite the fact that most of the people grow out of these things that they liked during their childhood, due to the fact that the media marketed towards the children usually becomes extremely cringy once they get a little older. But this is not the case with Harry Potter franchise. The series was written with a dose of dark themes which intrigued older audience, which means that once younger children grow out of the story elements which rely on friendship and the battle between good and evil, they can stick around for the darker plots of the story instead of moving away from the franchise. The book series and the movie franchise were released over a time period of a bit more than a decade. This timing allowed it to pull in the biggest possible audience, since the movies were marketed towards children, adults, and even teenagers. Another thing that led to a lot of people over to the book series is the fact that the books were already ahead of the movies, which meant most of the curious fans gravitated themselves towards the book to find out what happens next. Like watching the first year's movie intrigued a lot of people to read the third year's book which was released. As of as for me, some of the famous quotes which I love from Harry Potter are, you can always find happiness even in the darkest of times if only you remember to switch on the light. And books and cleverness, there are even more important things in life like friendship and bravery. This was said by Hermione Granger. It is the unknown we fear when we look upon death and darkness, nothing more. When asked about life and death, to the headmaster of Hogwarts, witchcraft and wizardry, Albus Dumbledore. It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. This was also said by Albus Dumbledore. And some of the quotes which Harry said were, time will slow down when something unpleasant lies ahead.